Welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker and Scott Kirshner. Special guest Chaz Price joining us this week once again. 419-794-3030 is the number. 419-794-3030. Online, americasretirementheadquarters.com. Don't forget, if you missed previous editions of the show, previous segments, or you just want to catch up on previous shows altogether, you can via podcasts, Google, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Just search for America's Retirement Headquarters, also on YouTube. Pretty much anywhere with the search bar, you could type it in and probably find some semblance of the show. Just search for America's Retirement Headquarters. Now, if you ask 10 people when you should claim Social Security, chances are you're probably going to get 10 different answers. An article in Barron's talked about how people were swayed after getting notifications on Facebook of how many of their high school classmates had died before the age of 70. The story says you should look at 3 factors that I'll start with the letter H, actually: health, heredity, and human nature. So, guys, what do they mean by this, and should there be other considerations?
Yeah, Chris, this segment kind of reminds me of the quote in Hamlet, "To be or not to be." This is more like to claim or not to claim, whether it's nobler to wait and suffer or to take it early and avoid, I think, a big sea of calamity, I think is what he said.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, my 8th grade English teacher would be very proud of me.
Yes.
I remember that. But yeah, I think this is, again, one of the most important discussion topics that we have with potential retirees about when to claim Social Security, because Social Security is that source of reliable income that kind of creates the floor, that you can stand on, if you will, for income. And it takes a lot of pressure off of your other investments. So, for instance, if you have a lot of income coming in from pensions and Social Security, that's just less work that your investments have to do to try to keep up. And so it's very important that you do select the right Social Security collection strategy. And yeah, I do like the way that, we've talked about Social Security a lot in the segment. I like the way that they lay out this, the discussion topics here. To first consider your health. If you've enjoyed really good health, not that always matters, but I think it is a good indication of how long you could potentially live. Also the heredity, the aspect of how long have your parents lived. I usually always ask that in a meeting: are your parents still with us? Are they, have they enjoyed good health as well? One thing that you could do if you've got parents still with you, or if they passed away, you could, take a look at their average life expectancy. So, if, dad passed away at 66, mom lived till 90, take the average there somewhere in between, and it may give you an idea of your life expectancy as far as heredity is concerned. And then human nature, whether or not you can, if you can afford to delay taking Social Security, or if you just, you have to take it. And sometimes when we talk to folks about taking Social Security, they feel as though it's almost an entitlement issue.
Right.
That I've paid into the system, I'm entitled to it. I want to make sure that I get every single drop and dime out of it, without even taking into consideration more the logical aspect of it, that, you're going to get an 8% increase every year that you wait. It's one of the few sources of income that has a pretty reliable cost of living adjustment. If you look at all of the years that Social Security has given us a cost of living adjustment, it's about 2.6% on average. It'll be really interesting, kind of as a side note this year, to see what the cost of living adjustment is on Social Security if we get one.
Right.
And, because we've seen 8% inflation, I think the CPI numbers come out next week. But they're expecting about another 8%, increase. Inflation's down from 8.5 down to about 8.1. So if that continues, you should likely expect to see a pretty decent cost of living adjustment on Social Security. Social Security, there's a lot that goes into it, but, I do like the 3 factors there: health, heredity, human nature. One of the things that we can do at America's Retirement Headquarters is a Social Security optimization report. We talk about these in our workshops. I know you and I did one last October. You did the Medicare, I did the Social Security. A lot of times folks focus on more so the break-even point, where we just want to know at what age do we have to live to get out, 100% of, what we put in essentially. or what the decision was actually to make sense to wait more so. But we want to optimize your Social Security. And we want to make sure that every single dollar that you have, including Social Security, is working at its highest, best use. And oftentimes, I can say this because I've ran probably 1,000 different financial analysis with Social Security included. When we wait till age 70, it almost always results in a higher probability of success for a client if you live to age 90. Now, that's the key, though.
Sure.
If you don't expect to live past 82 to 85, somewhere in that range, it's probably not going to be as high of a probability of success with Social Security by waiting till age 70.
Chaz, I had a client. In fact, I brought you down. I'm referred it to you actually. And one of the big questions that they had, because you sign up for Medicare through Social Security, right? So every time I'm meeting with someone, I ask them, "Are you taking Social Security?" The reason why I ask that question isn't because I'm nosy or want to know if they're taking it. It's because the Medicare Part B premium, if they're taking it, comes out of the Social Security check, right? And, that Medicare Part B premium went up last year. It goes up every year. But if they're not taking Social Security, then we have to be proactive in signing them up for Medicare Parts A and B. And if they're not taking it, by the way, for all you listeners out there wondering, you will actually have to pay quarterly $170.10 times 3 every quarter. It's not taken out of Social Security because you're not taking it, right? But the last clients that I handed in last week were talking about this, and they said, well, when should we take Social Security? He says, well, a lot of people look at different variables. And I asked some of these questions right here. I asked about health, and I asked, what is the longevity of your parents? And it was a shocker to me because this particular client, neither one of their parents were alive. And one of them died very early, in their early 40s, and the other one died in their 60s. And they actually have hereditary health issues to be concerned about. Maybe one of the first times I said, well, you probably want, they're turning 65. I said, you probably want to take at 65, 66, your full retirement age for them. It's different for them because the likelihood for them to hit 85 or that break even is not real high.
Yeah, and you said a good point there too about them. I think when you're making Social Security decisions, you do really need to include the other spouse into the decision-making process because it is a couple's decision, if you will, because my benefit, although it doesn't necessarily affect your benefit when you start taking, because the Social Security benefit is based on when I take it, not when you take it. Now, it may be based on your primary insurance amount, which is the maximum that you would earn at full retirement age, but ultimately the decision and the amount of money that I get is based on when I take it. It may not be in my earnings record, but it ultimately depends. But as far as going back to the estate planning aspect of it, when a spouse passes away, as you know, you lose that the deceased spouse's Social Security benefit. Right. So if that's a concern, and if we see some weakness in your financial plan, that if a spouse passes away early, which we can model that, maybe it would make sense for at least one of the spouses, i.e. probably the highest wage earning spouse, to wait and let that 70-year-old benefit grow, max out Social Security, so that if they did pass away, the surviving spouse inherits the higher of the two.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you don't get both, but whatever the higher the benefit is, he or she will receive. So that could be a significant benefit.
So that happened with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what happened with her. I do have a question for you, Chaz, because I was approached this past weekend with this question. It's a little different question, but so I had someone that was talking about taking their ex-husband's benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, can I take that? I said, well, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. So here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
If the ex-spouse is not taking Social Security,
mm-hmm.
can the ex-wife
ex-spouse.
take it? The other ex-spouse, yeah. The other can they take it even though the
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't have to be currently claiming the
Okay.
spouse. They just have to be eligible. So
Oh,
they have
okay.
to have paid into it. You have to be divorced at least for 2 years, and you have to have been married for 10. So
I knew that, and I
and
told
not
them those
remarried.
numbers.
If she's not remarried, then she can claim
Okay.
on her ex.
I told her that. I told her those. I knew the 2 years and the 10 years, but she was asking these questions. I'm like, is there something I need to be aware of?
That would be
here?
difficult. That'd be an interesting conversation.
It
Calling
was.
your ex-spouse, hey, can you claim Social Security so I can get on it real quick?
Yeah. So they don't have to worry about that though, which is obviously a good thing. So if any of you out there have any questions about Social Security, I know we talk about this a lot. We go through the Social Security. There's all kinds of schools of thought. There are so many different strategies when it comes to claiming Social Security. Reach out to us here. Chaz is great. I've seen the Social Security optimization reports he runs. Helps my clients out a lot and does a great job with that. And the reports are very informative. One of the many things that I do for clients is I'll actually help them create their My Social Security account if they don't already have one. And if you're looking to sign up for Medicare, I'll actually go on the Social Security website for them and help them do that as well.
Yeah.
So if we can help you with any of the topics we've already discussed, please reach out. Once again, you can reach me directly at Americasretirementheadquarters.com, or you can reach us at Americasretirementheadquarters.com as well.
Yeah. We've actually signed people up in the office for Social Security
Absolutely.
as well. So if you want to avoid a trip down to the Social Security Administration, nothing against those folks. I know they work really hard, and they take whoever's at the door. So, but we can actually do that for you over the online as well. A lot easier, and
I'm not real sure
we
what's
have better
happening.
snacks here as well.
Yeah, we do. We do. I'm not sure what's happening, and maybe after the break I'll talk about that. But I've got some horror stories to tell some people about Social Security Administration and Medicare.
Okay.
Again, those people at the Social Security office, they're not equipped to give you advice. They're not allowed to give you advice when it comes to the claiming strategy. So one of those things where you want to make sure all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted beforehand. The team at America's Retirement Headquarters, they can help you figure out what's going to be best for you and your spouse going forward and how that factors into your retirement plan. Schedule a time to speak with them. Go online to Americasretirementheadquarters.com or give a call, 419-794-3030. Once again, 419-794-3030. This is America's Retirement Headquarters. We appreciate you joining us. When we come back, it's time for another installment of Committed to the 419 with Mike Horvath of Let's Build Beds.